Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schmidtless Live. I'm Kurt Schmidt, your host, president and partner at Foundry. You can check us out, foundrymakes.com. And thank you for joining me today. Today, I am excited. We're going to be learning all about eSports. And I know a little bit about it because I like to play video games, but that's probably about my extensive knowledge of what that is. And so we've got a fantastic person here who's going to tell us all about it today. But before we get started, I do want to mention that we are hiring at Foundry. So if you know of people that are interested, we're a fast growing company. So check out foundrymakes.com/careers. We're always looking for talented people. If you don't see a job description up there that exactly matches what you do, it's all right. Take a chance. Toss one over the fence. Maybe we'll take a look. Maybe. Probably. I mean, what are you going to do? All right. So let's jump right in. I want to talk to my friend, Rebecca. Rebecca, how are you today? Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Kurt, for having me on. I'm great.
So tell me about what you do. You work in the esports area. You've been in there. You've been in sports for pretty much your entire career, right? And, you know, how did you get into esports as part of your career? Was it just a natural progression? Did you trip and fall into it like a lot of us in the tech space?
Kind of. So I started my career in advertising, and I was just really lucky to have majority of my clients in sports and entertainment. And one of my clients when I was at Space 150 was the NBA and the Timberwolves and the Orlando Magic. And I was able to freelance for years, start raising my family, and Timberwolves brought me on as a freelancer, and then I came in-house at the Wolves as their brand manager. And part of being the brand manager, I was kind of like this basically a ping pong ball that went between sales and marketing. So I had to have a deep understanding of both and find balance. And it was really my job to take any new special project and pull it across the line. And some of those things included innovation in sport technology, like flash seat, right? So I was really learning a lot about emerging tech and joined a group called Stadia Ventures in 2015 maybe, as an advisor and now mentor for startups that they bring into their incubator. And what happened about 3.5, 4 years ago is eSports startups started to apply to our cohort program, and we had to take a serious look at that, right? You have to vet that out. And I had already been learning a lot about Overwatch, was freelancing with Superhuman Agency, and their founder, Van Horgen, is major Overwatch player. Yeah, so into Overwatch. And so we were talking about, you know, what if Overwatch comes to Minnesota? Could we do something with players? I do a lot of player development. So we kind of were brainstorming different ways that we could get into that space. It didn't really come to fruition, but I was just doing all this research. So it did kind of like fall into my lap. I think when you lean in on any type of innovation, you can't necessarily plan for it. I mean, esports wasn't a thing, you know, really mainstream at all here just a few years ago. So it's not, it definitely wasn't something where I sat down and wrote down my goals and said, I want to work 100% in esports. Really, my career's evolved since COVID, truly, to be 100% dedicated to the esports space.
Yeah, and I can imagine with how much it's grown over the years. I mean, it's explosive growth, right? I mean, my understanding was, when, years and years ago when I first heard about it, it was mostly in the eastern side of the world, right? Japan and such, we're really focused on it. And then it seemed to kind of creep over, and then streaming became a big thing, right? So as a noob, kind of tell me the difference between, a streamer, a professional streamer, and then a professional like esports player. What's the difference, or are they both the same in some cases?
There's a tiny bit of crossover.
Okay.
The difference is really in terms of personality and intention. So streamers play video games. Well, they do. I mean, there's a lot of different people stream different things, but in the gaming industry, streamers are playing video games And the way that it works, like with Twitch, is you can see the main part of the screen is the gameplay, what they're doing on screen. And then there's like a little window similar to, you know, when you're on a Zoom call and there's a window of people.
Yep.
You've got you can see this, you can see the talent, you can see the streamer.
Yeah.
Streamers have big personalities. The best of the best streamers might not even be the top at playing the game that they're streaming. There's from a fan perspective, there's two things they're really looking for: to be entertained, right? And that comes down to that personality, that performer, and some learning, right? They're pretty good at the game. So you watch people play a sport or at any level, and you can learn different tactics, different tricks. I even remember being small when maybe 7 or 8, my brother could save the princess on Mario Brothers with like the first guy, like 3 guys in Mario Brothers that you can use to save the princess. 3 chances basically. My brother could save the princess with the first guy, and the whole neighborhood wanted to come, all these kids, and sit on our green shady carpet and watch my brother play. So it's been around, that idea has been around for a really long time, right? That's how we learn as humans. So that's really like the drive. The difference between the streamers, who are really making a lion's share of capital, because they're, you know, the top have over 10 million subscribers, and people like Tyler Blevins, Ninja is his gamer tag. You know, Ninja's making $40 million a year being a pro streamer. He's got massive brand deals. He's got 2 shoes with Adidas. He's on a Red Bull can. Like, amazing. He's kind of the big case study for streamers, and the name that has really become mainstream. But the way that it's very different when it comes to pro gamers. They're very game specific. They are training every single day. Right. Some of them do stream, but many of them are really just focusing on training, very focused on their craft, and they care about winning the game. That's their focus. They
and a lot
care
of those
about
are
winning.
Team sports too, right? It's not just like an individual.
Correct. Yep. There's some individuals. You know, most games can be an esport, right? It's an esport. It's playing a video game and competing while you're playing the video game. So with their personalities, sometimes they're just not going to be breakout personalities. They might be more quiet, shy, introverted. They're making money either being signed by a team, a franchise team, or a pro team. They're also making money entering tournaments and, you know, globally entering tournaments, and now digital tournaments, which started digital, became live events, now back to all digital. And they've got prize pools. So they're doing some online. We just, I worked on a Madden tournament a couple of weeks ago, and it had a combined prize pool of $20,000. The winner got $10,000. This guy he's a Madden. He's not a pro. He's an amateur, but he is an esports competitor, and he's hyper focused on finding Madden tournaments specifically that have prize pools attached, and he's focused on winning. That's how they're making their money. So you think about, in a traditional sport, you have these big personalities in traditional sports that they understand that they are a brand. Streamers understand that they're a brand, and they're working really hard to build their brand, to be marketable, and to grow that fan base. Just, you know, and some of it is you know, stunts and tactics and goofy things, or catchphrases.
Get attention.
Very, you know, similar to probably not as an extreme as a Dennis Rodman, but everybody knows who Dennis Rodman is, right? He made himself a brand, and he was able to capitalize and make a lot of money becoming that strong personality. Whereas you see a lot of other basketball players that you might not even hear of, but they're only focused on playing the game and trying to win the game.
Right. Well, and back to that point you were talking about, the sponsorships and things. So as a brand, if you're giving advice to a brand, Rebecca, and they're interested in this, right? But again, it's so new, right? I mean, they're just kind of getting the hang of Instagram, and now there's TikTok, and there's all these different platforms out there. And now I got to think about esports as a company, like how I engage with it. That's a lot of, and it seems like it's a it can be very specialized. I mean, is it as simple as Ace Hardware saying like, I want to sponsor a Ninja stream?
Well,
Like, how does that
I
work?
mean,
What's the conversations you've been having with these companies?
the best way to approach it is the way that you would approach any type of robust digital strategy.
Okay.
So two things are happening. Some brands are taking a lot of time to work with experts in the space that also understand marketing and marketing strategy. And they're building out a strategy that's going to anchor back to the main core objectives of that brand. The other thing that's happening and there's a little bit of back and forth on it as well, and a little bit of crossover, but there's just a brand saying we want to be in esports, and they pick a team or a property or a tournament, and they deliver the logo and they pay a fee and they're in the space. Neither, that's not necessarily a bad approach. It really just depends on what your core objectives are as an organization. So the way I'm working with clients, what I like to do is really have a deep understanding of maybe their product portfolio, even taking it that deep to say, okay, what are all of the products that you have? And who is the consumer that is really being attracted to this product? And can we find one that is very easily or more easily cross over into what the demographics are within esports?
Sure.
And esports is like the Olympics. Like, I would never suggest a brand try to find the youngest person in their office and figure this out. It's super complex, right? Yeah. It's like saying, I want to sponsor the Olympics. Well, you can't afford to sponsor the Olympics. Right. So can you do a sport within the Olympics? And that sport you choose better resonate with your brand, better fit within that sport, sure. Right? Esports is the same. There's a lot of games, There's a lot of personalities on the streamer side, and they all have their own unique niche fan base. Brands that are trying to reach a younger demographic, 13 to 24-year-olds, Rocket League is phenomenal for that. Over 50% of Rocket League fans are in that age demographic. Wow. If you are a brand that wants to reach maybe the 18 to 35-year-olds, then Call of Duty would be a really great brand. If you're looking to engage in esports, you're going to hit a heavy male population unless you curate something specific for women. Crocs sure. wanted to support women in gaming, and we curated an event with a brand called eFuse. We created an all-women's Call of Duty tournament through this Women of the Arena property that eFuse has, which is like the largest all-female tournament strategy that is in existence right now. So being able to be very, very intentional, and then creating a plan that's going to anchor back to measurable results is very important. So how are you going to authentically, get into that space? And then how are you going to tie to some sort of monetization for your company? Getting in authentically is the biggest, most important thing. And I really encourage brands to get in without trying to sell, at least for the first year. Really, you should be a part of the community first.
Support, right?
Yeah, it's just, this is a very hyper sophisticated audience.
Right.
They are making, they make more than the average American in terms of household income. They have a higher rate of college degrees. A lot of esports, enthusiasts or major fans are in computing careers, and they've been 100% digital their entire lives. They're going to look through your lazy marketing tactics really, really quickly, and they're going to call you out on it too. Yeah. So you can't mess it up, or you're going to feel it, right?
Yeah, it's not like a Super Bowl ad, right?
Right. But the biggest thing to understand about this space is you're not creating something from scratch and asking people to come and engage with you.
Right.
You're meeting the next generation of consumers where they already are. there are massive, amounts of fans congregating together, watching some of these live streams, watching these live events.
Right.
And you have the opportunity to be a part of their community if you do it right. And being a part of a community, we see 76% of esports fans favoring brands that are already in their space. So if you're a brand and you're already a part of the esports ecosystem, you have a really high likelihood that they're going to support your brand.
It's
not
stickier.
only, it's so sticky. It's so sticky. But it's really about creating conversation and being authentic to how they speak. You don't speak to this community, you speak along with them. You join conversations, and it's a super welcoming. It's super welcoming space. The industry, even for me as, on the business side or the front office side of the space, I can't believe the amount of collaboration that happens. It's astronomical. I've never seen it. I've never seen, ad agencies collaborating on how to retain clients or how to service clients the best. I've worked in pro sports and no one's talking about how to help each other get brand partnerships. But in this space, in esports, people are cross collaborating and helping build each other up and sharing advice. I mean, I'm on contract with the Wilks, have a brand called Version 1, and there's 3 teams underneath it, Rocket League, Valorant, Call of Duty team. And I can literally call anybody else in partnerships across our league, and they're an open book. I mean, they're talking about brands that they're talking to and deals that are happening. It's really cool. It's a great space to be in. And from the brand side, as brands are coming in, there is also a lot of conversations and open book of what has worked, what are their other brand partners doing, how can they, even having connections with other brands that are in the space. And it's just very collaborative.
That's great. Yeah. And I think just to your point, I mean, I see that happening in just general marketing across the board, thanks to social media and things, is that you can't just go in and put a t-shirt on Ninja and you're going to get, like you were saying, right? You're going to get this stickiness. But if you go in and support the community, support the people that are around that, and you build up, this sort of goodwill and network, it really helps not just your overall brand, but it helps with sales and all those different things. I mean, and I think I think you're seeing that more in social media too, and these types of things. But with esports, especially, just like you mentioned, it sounds like it's such a strong community in general that, there's a lot of, I don't know how you say it, word of mouth, right? Even that would happen in a strong community like that, even though that word of mouth might be over Discord or Slack or in comments in other things like that. So I wanted to ask you, this is a good segue, because I was going to ask you if I'm listening to this and I'm in marketing, and maybe more traditional marketing or social media marketing things, and I'm interested in esports from a marketing, I want to learn more about it. I want to know more about it. Maybe I'm thinking, maybe not necessarily a career change, but it's something good to understand and fully see what's happening. What's your advice to those people that want to start exploring marketing in the esports world? Where's a good place to start? Just start watching esports? Is that a good place to start?
Well, I mean, I don't watch a lot of esports personally.
You're not up all night just watching people play?
No. I have a Twitch channel, and I do watch sometimes. It's important to have an understanding and a place of reference. If you're going to tell people to sponsor something within Twitch, you probably should know what it is. But the best way, I think, for marketers to learn about and understand the space is starting to sign up for some of these free online newsletters. eSports Observer is a great one.
Your podcast would be a great one to sign up for.
My podcast is literally meant for people like myself 5 years ago. My podcast is all about what's happening in marketing and esports, because, from a digital standpoint, there's a lot of tools that are being developed to help track and measure or evaluate. But there's also a lot of people that are doing great things from a marketing perspective in esports. So I like to interview those people. I like to interview thought leaders in the space, and from a marketing angle is how I'm having these conversations. So yeah, my podcast, I think I like it because obviously I'm investing my time and energy to have these conversations.
I think it's fantastic. I don't know a ton about esports, but I would say over the past few months, I've really learned a lot about the space. And I think, again, back to my point, there's a lot of takeaways from what's happening in this innovative sort of world that you can take into other aspects. So it's not just about watching it and listening it just because you want to become an esports magician like you, Rebecca, right? But you want to learn from what's happening in these different spaces and bringing it back, right?
Well, the biggest thing is you want to make sure that you have your brand always evolving and proactive and not just reactive to where consumers are spending their time. Mm-hmm. This is a really great place to get in front of that Gen Z, that next generation of consumers, and get them to have brand adoptability at a point in their lives where they're making long-term brand decisions. You know, if you're a deodorant company, I've been wearing the same brand of deodorant since I was like in middle school, right? Like that's what I do. And I grew up in a family. My mom, it was Pepsi everything, Pepsi. But like
our house is a Pepsi household too.
Yeah, but I'm like Coca-Cola, like if I'm in Minnesota, right?
We both are disappointments to our mothers. Yeah, I get it.
So, how do you reach, and this is the thing that just kills me sometimes, like just to vent for a moment, I will hear brands say they really want to figure out a good Gen Z strategy. They want to meet Gen Z. They really want to market to them. How are they going to reach them? And they're overwhelmed and scared of getting into esports. And it's like, this is where your audience is. They're living on Twitch, Discord, now Clubhouse, Twitter, and Reddit. Why are you not engaging in these places? If you really want to meet that consumer, instead of putting these very large blanketed approaches to try to reach that age demographic, meet them where they already are. And numbers don't lie. Like, this is where they are. This is where they're communicating. And so that is, I think, the biggest driver here is being able to create your digital marketing strategy and your social media marketing strategy. Those teams should be working in tandem. Instead, I think a lot of organizations have those totally separate entities. Yeah. They need to work a little bit more collaboratively. There are brand dollars coming from that traditional sports marketing budget. I think that the future is going to be not taking a look at esports as a sports activation, but looking at it as a robust digital strategy.
Sure. I love that. Like you're saying, it's a holistic approach, right? And especially if those are your demographics, if those are the people you need to go after. I mean, I get being scared to enter the space, but what are you going to do? Just just ignore it, or I don't think that's a good idea either. So, but do you? And
we're looking at.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just in terms of, what compels brands to act is the ability to make money, right?
Sure.
And getting these consumers, getting them to adopt your brand and to respect your brand at an early age, then they're more than likely going to be lifers of your brand. But what we're looking at with Gen Z is we are getting close to the largest transfer of wealth in human history. A lot of those dollars are going to be transferred to young millennials and Gen Z from the big boomers. baby boomer mentality, as we all know, was save, 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 save. Millennial spending habits are live your best life, spend money on experiences. And we're seeing with Gen Z, the trend is really blend in between both, because they were young and watched their parents freak out during the financial crisis of 2008. And now with COVID, they are also very interested in life and life experiences and relationships and doing, when the world opens up, that generation's really going to have a new appreciation for being around people, having real life experiences, traveling. So I think there's going to be a very, very balanced, probably the most balanced generation of the past, 100 years in terms of how they think about and use their money.
We could use that.
They also have, right? And they've got a lot of tools at their fingertips. And even in terms of, more young people, my son is 14 and he's been day trading since COVID hit, not in real life day trading, but he's got like an that you can learn day trading. And it's been really cool to see him having a deep understanding of investment strategy. And he can speak to investments. I had no freaking clue about that stuff until like 10 years ago.
A little Warren Buffett there.
But he's not alone. I mean, he's in these Reddit groups of young people
I can imagine, Back to your point about community, right?
And learning from that, we learn from each other. They're very collaborative, and they're more socially aware and socially engaged. Gamers are very, very socially engaged. Which is, there's a lot of misconceptions about personalities of gamers, that they're isolated, but they're not. If your kid is in his room on a headset playing video games, chances are he's playing, and he might be in a lobby of 50 other people waiting to go and play Fortnite, right? So there's a lot of connectivity here, and there's definitely this is a long-term strategy. It's not like a sports partnership.
Right. And you don't have to worry about injuries as much, I'm guessing, right?
Well, there's burnout's real in professional video games. There's stress and strain on wrists and fingers, obviously. On neck, posture is important. And then the eyes, obviously. But in terms of the cognitive skills you're building, those are like off the charts. So
that's awesome. Well, Rebecca, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I learned so much, and the work that you're doing, it just seems like so much fun. I'm sure there's stress and angst as with any work, but you're in such a future forward space. It just sounds fantastic. If I want to know more about the work you do, if I want to reach out, learn more about the marketing side of things in esports, besides your awesome podcast, where's a good place to reach you and learn more?
Follow me on LinkedIn. That's a really great place. I'm sharing a lot of thought leadership on LinkedIn as well. My podcast is The Future of Marketing in Esports, and it's available on Spotify and Apple and everywhere you find podcasts. And then if you want to, shoot me an email, Rebecca@happywarrior.us is my email. And I'd be happy to connect with people who are wanting to learn a little bit more.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Rebecca. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Once we'll have to have you back on the show soon. I find it fascinating, and I see so much potential in the future of this. So I'm definitely going to keep listening to the podcast. So I appreciate the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on yours.
All right, everyone, we're going to close out the show. But before I do, make sure that you remember the hiring at Foundry. It's happening. We're doing it. Check it out. Share it with friends. I appreciate you taking the time today. It really means a lot to me that you took time out of your day to watch this show. Let me know if there's any subjects or people that I should be talking to. Who should I be talking to? I should be talking to everybody. I don't know. come and check out the show more. There's gonna be more shows the next week and the week after, and then pretty much every week. So just go ahead and subscribe and all the other things. Thanks for taking the time. We'll see you next time.